Welcome to a new episode of The Wake Up, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Spencer Walsh. Today we're going to have a little bit of a different type of episode today. As you know, yesterday, when you'll be hearing this, it'll be September 12th. Yesterday, obviously, was the 18th anniversary of the terrorist attacks of September 11th on the World Trade Centers in New York City. And I thought it would be kind of worth having an interesting discussion about it with someone who's a frequent contributor to the show, is obviously host on the JSPN. James Stanley is joining us. James, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on the show today.
All right, so yeah, really appreciate it. And it all kind of started off, really, and I think we could probably make this into a little bit of a bigger discussion when I saw that you liked a tweet, because we often communicate about politics when we're not doing each other's respective shows. But the thing is, I kind of observed that you liked a tweet that was from C-SPAN of a video of this guy. I don't really know where or really who he was. He wasn't really identified. Yeah, so he was pretty much saying he had a shirt that said "Some people did something" in reference to Ilhan Omar's kind of undeservedly controversial remarks about 9/11 when she spoke to a Muslim terrorist group. That kind of made not a Muslim terrorist group, but a Muslim activist group. It was kind of similar to APAC for Jews called CARE, was what she was saying. She was pretty much making the point that Muslims, in the wake of 9/11, have been unfairly associated with terror just because some people did something. As she says, not all people should be associated with it. And I think it really is like that kind of dynamic. And the reaction to what she said, in my opinion, kind of sums up the post 9/11 response from our country. Just a lot of really, I think, misplaced hysteria. It's been a lot of anxiety and a lot of kind of chaos about this, and it's really led us to do some pretty stupid things. So I thought, in the wake of 9/11, I think we could probably discuss for a little bit like where we are now and how things are going to go from here for a little bit to fill the time for today's episode. But James, what did you think of her remarks, and what do you think it says about our politics post 9/11?
I think that her comment was absurd. I mean, she downplayed 9/11 by saying that it was something that some people did something, and I understand the fact of what she said afterwards by saying that then we start to see our civil liberties taken away. I understand that part. But the fact that she downplayed 9/11 as some people doing something, that is a controversial thing. I mean, it should be controversial because people died on that day, and honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't think anyone deserved to die on that day because people were going to work.
Of course.
People weren't expecting to never come home and say hi to their family again. The first responders who lost their lives trying to save as many people as possible, which they did save quite a lot, which was a hard task for them to do because, first off, I mean, do some history thing here with the Twin Towers. The problem with the Twin Towers, the design of them, because of the fact that the terrorist attack occurred and, it went through the building, the elevators weren't working and there was no power as well. So if the elevators weren't working, they wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah.
And the emergency stairwell that they had was probably the size of what a thin stairwell, like maybe in a house, would be. It's not a very big emergency stairwell like what they have nowadays in the modern Freedom Tower. Very big. It's definitely... Is it going to save everyone in the building if there's another 9/11, which, hopefully there isn't. If there ever is again, the Freedom Tower is definitely more prepared than what the Twin Towers were. And the reason why is because people were trying to sprint out. When there's a crisis at hand, people get anxious. They want to get out. They're very, they have a lot of energy and they're worried about their lives. And they just try to push to get out of the way and just go down. The problem with that stairwell is that stairwell was literally... Again, the size of a house. But think about, I believe it was 103 floors in each tower. The plane in the first tower, I believe, hit around the 80-something floors. So anyone above the 82nd floor, I mean, they were doomed to die unless they managed to get around it magically. I mean, there was a lot of fire as well in there. But the people who were under there were managing to get out of there. A lot of them were. Some of them weren't lucky enough to get out because either the ceiling started to collapse, which then couldn't make it possible for them to find the emergency stairwell. But even if they did get into the emergency stairwell, there was also another problem there. The Stella was small. People were running. People were falling. People were getting injured. Things were happening. And the fact is, that building wasn't prepared for a thing like 9/11. Not that we ever. I mean, look, it's kind of sad to say that we have to prepare for things like this nowadays. But the truth of the matter is, our world's a lot different nowadays than it was, 18 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely kind of an interesting part of it. Like, definitely an interesting thing to like kind of learn about the history of that. But again, I do kind of want to bring them back to kind of the after 9/11. Not so much really the specifics of it. Of course, a lot of people in the media have been doing a great job of covering that. I think that's definitely kind of an angle and important part of the story that does need to be covered. But I do kind of want to briefly recenter this discussion kind of back onto what we have done, how we kind of have responded. And I mean, I really do. I'm curious as to what you would say with this comment from Ilhan Omar, and I do kind of want to open up to broader lens after this, is like, if you went up to her now, and do you think in your heart of hearts, like, what do you think that Ilhan Omar sympathizes or thinks that the people who committed the 9/11 terror attacks aren't terrorists and were in fact good people? Because when you say,
well, she did downplay it. I mean,
if you say,
and then she also, sorry,
what were you going to say?
I mean, she did downplay it. And do I think that she thought they were good people? No, but I mean, look at the thing that she did with the 9 Somali men, writing to a judge to ask to be friendly in the sentencing.
I definitely think that comes. I think that kind of comes from. I mean, maybe it does come kind of from a place of national allegiance, but I also think like part of her belief system is that is for fair like criminal sentencing. But I think like that kind of manipulation shows that there really is a distortion of like a lot of the kind of the beliefs of people who want to see like who really want to see some change here. And I think there's definitely different ways to look at this, and I think it's very important, like that kind of thinking, to my mind, of this just misplaced aggression, misplaced hysteria, and the need to go to war in some shape or fashion. Like that led us to the post 9/11 thing, and the kind of predicament we are when it comes to our national security, with the wars in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, and all that stuff that just isn't really related to what happened. I think that's a real problem, and it's kind of a byproduct of 9/11, and it's exemplified right here in this thinking of the idea that attacking a Muslim woman for something that she said kind of off the cuff, not really thinking about really what she was saying. And of course, I mean, if she did something for 9/11 today, I'm sure she was like, this is a tragic attack. It was an attack. Like, she's the fact that she's sympathetic in any way towards, I think, these the aims of the terrorists, I think is ridiculous, and it's kind of just inappropriate to bring up like there's on such a day.
I mean, I can see your point there, but look, I do see your point as well with the negativity. I'm not going to side with negativity. I mean, coming on the show in the past, I've even said, I think the cure to the problem right now in this country is to really get rid of the negativity and to bring more positivity. I mean, look, I think that certain candidates in some of the races now are bringing a negative campaign, but getting back to what you had asked me before, no, I mean, I don't think that Ilhan Omar is being sympathetic to the 9/11 terrorists, but I do think that she did know what she was saying. I mean, she was talking at a speech that was pretty important in San Francisco. I mean, she's actually going to go up there and be saying stuff that she didn't prepare for. She prepared for that speech, definitely. I mean, she wasn't even, I don't believe she was using teleprompters. I mean, maybe she was. I just didn't notice them at the time when watching the video, but she definitely did prepare for that. She did know what she was saying. I mean, she didn't just go out of the blue and say, oh, these people did something. No, she knew she was going to say that at that moment. And the fact of the matter is that, look, I don't like to attack people, but I do think that what she had said is definitely a little bit alarming because, look, some of her actions are as well alarming, but with the comments of what she had said, many people have found that downplayed it. I mean, look, people lost a lot of family members that day. Some people actually lost their entire family, all their friends. This day really hit hard for a lot of Americans. Even though only 3,000 people died, which some people say doesn't seem like a lot, it really is a lot because those are 3,000 families that will have to suffer for the rest of their lives knowing that someone's life was taken in a way that could have been in some sense not necessarily prevented, but in a way that really wasn't humane. I don't think that someone dying because of some terrorist act that they want to commit in a country is really the best way to go down. I mean, I don't think anyone really had a bad rap, all the victims, in the sense of really having any sort of grievances before they died. In the sense, I mean, like a couple days before ending their life in a bad tone. I don't think that they themselves did. I feel as if that what occurred on 9/11 definitely really hit hard for a lot of people. And the
Yeah,
fact
I
that she
mean,
said it as some people doing something, look, I'm just going to say that could really hit hard for many people. I mean, if some people lost their mom, and just think about that. Putting
yeah, I mean,
aside
I
that
definitely
she's from
do see what you're
Somalia,
saying. Yeah,
putting aside that she's from Somalia, like think about it in the sense of someone saying to you, your mom, for example, say, for example, your mom was in a train crash, something like that, or anyone on the viewing right now, and then someone just goes up to you at random. Doesn't matter what race they are, doesn't matter what religion they are, because that's not really what I'm upset about. If, for example, if Rand Paul, who is a devout Christian, or even Ted Cruz said this, I would still be upset. This is not anything against Ilhan Omar being a Muslim. This
I
is
understand
against the
that. Yeah,
comments of what she had said. Some people
yeah,
go against it with.
I think that's the problem. I think it's like it's really what it is a like kind of misplaced blame misplaced blame game in and of itself. And I think it not for you, I'm not saying this like works for you, but I think for a lot of people in where like this was originally, it came as a product of like right-wing media, people misrepresenting her intent, and people saying that she was trying to actively sympathize with the terrorists of 9/11. And I mean, I think it's really kind of ridiculous to hold her to such a standard where she has to say every single solitary time something that should be obvious to everybody. Like, I think if we look at some things that people like Donald Trump has said and Republican politicians and some things they've done, they're held to such a low standard comparatively, I think. And you have people harping on like literally every single solitary word she said. Like that's, I think really what she thought coming into this, I think really why she said it is not necessarily that she didn't know what she was saying, but more over the fact that she didn't realize that the standards were that you have to really spell everything out. Because, I mean, I think for most people, including her, saying that the 9/11 attackers were terrorists is like saying that 2 plus 2 equals 4. Like, it's implied, it's obvious, it's something that you don't even have to think about. Everyone just knows what you're saying when you're saying it. So, like, that kind of response, I think, is very interesting. And so it's really kind of, I think I can see how it could get under a lot of people's skin if it's presented in such a way that it was presented as. And amplified by the president and people saying and lack of defense by Democrats, whatever the case may be. But that's one facet of it. But I think that kind of exchange that I saw a lot of people sharing on social media today, calling out Ilhan Omar from the right wing perspective, is I think it's really kind of a sense of misplaced anger about the but where I think really where I think the legacy of 9/11 and the events and things that happened after, I think the most historical consequence lies not in really what Ilhan Omar said, but some of the stuff that happened after. What do you think about, James, our government's response to 9/11, and what impact do you think it leaves on us today, even 18 years after it happened?
I think that what really had the biggest impact was definitely the war that we had gotten into. I mean, looking at the facts, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest here. You know, I'm not going to be making myself look like a good person. Look, I've looked at the bill. I saw what the Bush administration put forward to the Senate. I saw what they were writing in there. And, you know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. With the information given, not even knowing what would have happened in the future. Like, if I was a senator in 2003, I probably would have voted for the Iraq War with the information that they were giving me. I mean, because they made it seem such a war that would have given us, basically, in a sense, our standing back and basically kind of make people feel a little bit better after what had occurred. Now, looking at what we actually had happened with this war, I don't think that that was at all a very useful war to go into. I think it was pretty useless, waste of money as well. But I also think that what Ilhan Omar had said, I mean, yeah, I think it did ring a couple strings and it did hurt a lot of people. And I think also a couple of her actions are very controversial. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Was she writing a letter to a judge to be sympathetic to 9 Somalian terrorists? I think that is very alarming. And the fact of the matter is, look, I understand she's Somalian. But the fact of the matter is, these people did crimes.